Close out that one box. Or,
All right, there we go. Oh, this one too.
there you go. All right. So calling to order, this is January 13th, 2026.
Oh, yeah, I got a photo on that one, didn't I?
Meeting of the board for Thurston County Fire Protection District 8. And our first order of business is any public comments. I don't have any publics here, just employees. So we'll move to the next thing, which is introduction of our new admin assistant.
I'd like to introduce Lillian Hanson. I did introduce her to the other folks, but you haven't met her yet, Gloria.
Hi.
And she started last Monday and doing fabulous.
Good.
She's doing great, yeah.
Well,
Welcome to the staff. Thank you.
I'm really enjoying it so far, so excited to be here.
Good.
all right.
And so we've got the oath of office for Commissioner Kilpatrick.
Right.
And you need to swear that you're going to. Then we-
All right. How to bring robes and all that. Okay, so I, Douglas Kilpatrick, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington. And that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of Fire Protection District Number 8, South Bay Fire Commissioner, Position 3, according to the law and the best of my ability. So, there it is. Thank you. Thank you both.
And then you can sign that, sign it and give it back to you.
Right, but I already have.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. All right, so from an organizational standpoint, as a board, we annually elect our leadership for various tasks and that kind of stuff. And so
Maybe we talked about doing that.
we talked about doing it this meeting at the last meeting, yeah. So we have a chair, a vice chair, labor management labor rep, and a chair for the board of volunteer firefighters. And we have the local meetings for that. So I'm accepting nomination. Let's start with chair.
I think we should do it.
I'll second that. Do you want to do it again? Well, this would be my fourth year in
Yeah,
a row.
so we really should spread it out.
I
Pam's been vice chair for a while, but I just.
am vice chair. So I really do feel like there should be an opportunity for folks to share that responsibility.
It's not hard.
And
No, no, it's
it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to provide a little bit of leadership, and you can set the tone of how you want meetings to go to a certain extent, things like that. So
Dan, do you want us to nominate you? Dan. Sure.
You're so
You're so good. Okay, well, it's either you two, I've been chair before.
No thanks, I'll pass.
Congratulations. So I guess I'll nominate him.
Oh, man.
We'll help you.
I'm not worried about doing it. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, I nominate him to be the chair for.
Do the formalities suggest a second? I don't think it matters that much, we don't understand that much ceremony, but. Do you have, I mean, thank you for accepting. I think it's an opportunity, I mean, if you have any concerns that you want to express to the rest of us, or.
as long as my husband stays healthy, I'm good.
All right.
Well, you'll have a vice chair that can take
Sure.
over when you
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I nominate.
He's a.
I am full of responsibilities right now.
The vice chair does nothing unless there's some, and then if you're not here, then What about else, other stakeholders?
I have interest in being the labor rep, that is so.
Yeah, they're not gonna die at this point.
Conflict of interest.
So, we're all in agreement then, to elect Pam as our chair for 2026.
Yes.
And, I suppose
And I can be vice chair, so.
you would like to be vice chair. Okay, everybody agreeable with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sounds all right. Very good. All right, on the labor board, I actually had an interest in that as well. Now, the very first year that I was on the board, I was appointed to the labor team, and we never had a meeting because it was 2020, and we never had a meeting.
No relations are just.
So anyway, I'd be interested in that, having missed that opportunity before because of COVID.
So he outrankes me, all the for you, all nominated, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then our chair for the BBFF meetings, as I recall, there's something there that says that the chair of the board should attend. It doesn't say the chair of the board has to be the chair of the BBFF.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, actually, isn't there two members, board members that are supposed to be on the BBFF board?
And typically, we have done whatever the board and vice chair of the regular meetings do the board volunteer, because
Yeah, statute calls.
they're usually held like 10 minutes before the board meeting, and they usually last 5 minutes. I mean, there's rarely, do we have anything that's gonna be time consuming, so.
What are the responsibilities that I will,
Uh,
what
It's-
are the responsibilities of that?
Most of it is, so there, you have to approve when we turn in for reimbursement for like health checks. And there's a document I have to fill out once a year showing the pension qualifications that people have met their
so
pension.
the chair of that board committee is really just responsible for putting signatures.
For signing stuff,
Yeah.
Let's under state law,
Where is it?
Board of Volunteer
What's it for?
Firefighters Reserve Office.
As needed.
Yeah,
There's no,
Member agency has their local board. And there's the member fire chief or police chief, 2 elected officials and a member of the volunteer corps. So there's actually supposed to be about 5 people
and the secretary.
That's it.
in the district.
And
secretary.
Jonathan Clemens has volunteered to be the volunteer rep this year.
So the local board actually has to approve any action for any of its members before it can be submitted to the state board. And then ultimately, any recommendations or enrollment, and that goes to the state board.
So I'm gonna be the chair for that. I'll be the second board member.
Okay,
As part of that.
unless either one of you have any interest in that.
Sure.
Okay, Jake will take that,
Yeah.
and you'll be the vice?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Wonderful.
We'll get that all squared away then.
Yeah,
Okay.
great, thank you, guys.
All right. So, Madam Chair, however you would,
That's
I will defer to your interest in what happens for the rest of the season.
I can read the agenda, that's okay.
Yeah.
However you want to do it.
Yeah, for how you guys did it.
Okay.
Right, I don't see,
So we agreed on that?
huh?
So he's in the meeting room.
He's in the wrong link, then tell him to go to that, that's like, give a new link for 26.
So the next thing on our agenda is the annual organization of the 2026, wait, we just did that, I'm
Did that
sorry,
one.
we did we're doing the chief's report.
Yeah.
Anybody has questions?
I sent out a copy of the report, hoping you'll have an opportunity to look at it. I guess first thing I'd ask is, has everybody had an opportunity to look at it, and does anybody have questions on the report?
Got it?
I took a look at the last page, which is how is our cash flow compared to what we projected and all that kind of stuff. And, on the very last page is your, yeah, exactly. And so it, it appears, I mean, you can see on there that, our actual versus, projected, salaries or payroll for, personnel We ran, yeah, we ran, right there underneath the whole time and wondered if you could just explain that a little bit.
Um. Overall, we came under budget this year and all of the areas, which was obviously good news. Labor was significantly under, since labor is about 70% of our operating budget. The reason that it is under is that we had planned for and budgeted for 22 staff for 12 months. And not knowing what the hiring lag will be and everything, just so we had that. So basically, we overfunded labor. But what's not seen here is one of the things I wanted to add was the fact that in order to continue to fund overtime, we had paid quite a bit of overtime in quite a bit of overtime during the year, so it offset some of that cushion we had. So in order to, the good news is that we did staff Station 83 90% of the time. And that was the average.
Was most of that done on overtime?
Yes, so we spent approximately $433,000 in overtime last year to do just that. But the good news is we had sufficient funding to pay for that. Now that's gonna change significantly in 2026, and I had a conversation with Chief LeMay about that, but essentially it balanced out. So, good answer.
Yeah, I think so. I was just, the point there was, it looked like we had a big under spend, which was fine, but there were some reasons for it, and one of them was the projected was based on 12 months of those 22 staff. Of course, there was a time lag there when we got 5 folks in as laterals and that kind of stuff. And then there also was the hit from overtime, which if we were to do that again, this year, have that kind of over, we would be running in the red, which is not good. Anyway, it's kind of an interesting balance, and just to note kind of how we played things last year versus how things are going to have to go this year.
Yeah, but we're also adding 2 more staff members, so that should count with staffing.
Correct.
So we shouldn't have to do as much overtime, so it should balance each other out.
That's the hope.
Just to some degree it will. Remember that we had, in the 5-year plan, we had planned to hire 5 additional first responders, which we, because of the budget, did not do. But yes, it will help offset some of that. And that it will probably be likely there will be times we'll have to round out 83. Because of that, trying to balance our budget and ensure staffing like that. So.
Now, does the county ever change, we're in the first half of the year, do they ever change that amount that they give you? It's just that's budget.
So
for the entire
once tax levy goes out, it's settled.
If we assess us, they take that money.
Yeah, you'll get your Valentine card from the county, which will have the amount set for what you will pay for fire district, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they give us.
But that amount is set,
Okay, as much as we pay into schools, good.
yeah, that amount is set as of January 1st by law.
All right.
Thank you. I did have a couple other things on the report. I did send out a couple of emails on some of the statistics from 2026. And just noting that generally in 2026, we improved our overall response times in at least 2 of our 3 fire station locations. The amount of time, and that's shown on a chart that sort of supposed to kind of reflect where our geographical areas are and everything. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, I encourage you to take a look at that. But the bottom line is that we our average staffing is stabilizing and our average response times are going down. For example, in from 24 to 25, our average response time went down, about, 15 seconds average, which is pretty significant. The problem with the increases of the average response time at Station 82 is kind of twofold. One is that, well, there was some significant construction on our access travel time between here, and Johnson Point, because of the roundabout map. I'm not certain that it probably influenced it much, but the other thing is that if we do have extra long response time, it's such a relatively small number of calls that it will influence the average more so than it would be at 81 and 83. Right? So all we need is a 15, 20-minute response time at John's Point, and it'll screw the average up considerably because there's fewer calls out there. So, but overall, picture was much better in 25 than it has been in the past for average response times. And I did send another about the overall response times broken down by day shift, night shift, weekend too, for each of the three stations.
I got that.
Yeah.
The other one.
So that's a little more detailed version of the same picture, so.
All right. Does anybody else have questions?
As you look at all that stuff, if you have any questions, let me know. But there are several Excel spreadsheets on each one of those charts. I just sent you the charts. Unless you really want to drill down to it.
All right. No questions?
Cool. Thank you.
We're moving on. So Chief Lemay, you want to talk about the staffing report?
Please, yeah. I'd like to go over a few things. I'm gonna go over the December status like we usually do. This will be the last one, 125. Giving you what December was about. Give you that, and then I'd like to recap a bit on 2025 for our Vail 1, 2, that we talked through, kind of go through that. And I'd also like to spend a little time kind of talking about our hiring process. Select, give everybody a good idea of what all it takes to get that built up, to get that going, how we do that. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about 2026 on our new goals. My guess is, and it's up to you all, if this form, I don't think that it's gonna help anyone, because we designed this, if you recall, a year ago, January, February last year. I was getting feedback from you all, how do you want to track how we're hiring, and all that, how the five-year plan did. So that's how we developed this. If you still have strong feeling for these charts,
If it's something we can get online, is it something you post online?
I'm-
So. if
it's
we
not
needed it,
online, I
we
think
can
this is really
review
well.
it.
if there's a desire to still have a willing to do it, I just don't feel like this is gonna help give us our 2026 updates. So I'll talk more about it, and then if you still see the need for it after we get through it. So as for December, we did make two conditional offers for members, two new firefighters. One of them has already started, so we're happy to see Johnny Barsh has started over at the academy, and feel pretty good about that. We did make two conditional offers, and then this is probably good to kind of segue into our process on how we hire. So if you may not recall, we put together a detailed specific schedule for 2025, when we're doing interviews, when we're pulling all that, when we start in on the backgrounds. And then, of course, we had a bit of a snag when we get into October about our budget crisis and all that. And it did put us back 2 months because we weren't able to make that. What we do is we do the interviews, we find a list of people that are gonna be good members. We pick out the best of who we'd like. From that, we can send those out for background checks. So the background process we send out to the group of folks. At that point, we're able to do backgrounds for anybody legally that signs and says, I love you, background letter. But we're not able to make conditional offers until we're for one firm that we're gonna be doing it. And what we tried to do to find a little bit of a faster process, kind of help expedite this, is we looked in, found out there's some questions I had about, can we send people to medical and psych to get that ahead of time? And I got a loud and clear no, that is illegal for HR regulations and laws. We're not allowed to.
Until you've actually hired them.
Yeah, if you make a conditional offer, say,
Okay.
I am planning on hiring you and you.
Yeah.
this is conditional that you pass your psychological test and your medical screening test, so. We tried to really expedite that, but can't do that, it's against the law to move ahead on that, but it's something we're trying to do we'll try to expedite this. So as for now, of course, it's not appropriate to get into the specifics of why it's slowed down for each individual, but, yeah, we do have a conditional out, but that has not processed. So that's why we have one position that we're able to fill now, and then two have planned to pursue.
So do you have people lined up for the other one, for the other position?
We've got a list of people. But what we can't do is get them started on the site.
So why are you not then doing the offer to them, so you can start that?
We did.
Yeah, right, so I think I heard the question and I think the answer didn't connect with the question.
No,
Excuse me. Brandon and I talked about this just, the other day. So they did make two conditional offers.
Okay.
They were out of the stack of people, they took the top two and they made two conditional offers. And one of them, everything got completed. And his name is Johnny, and they sent him to
okay,
the.
or did the other one not get completed?
The other one isn't completed because, they're still.
We haven't gotten the site eval report back
Haven't got the
on
final
that candidate.
on that.
Okay.
So we can't proceed any further until we get a successful physical and psychological background
Yeah.
report.
Right, so, sorry to jump on
Oh,
that.
yeah, that clarifies better. That's
Yeah, I
why.
was,
Yeah,
We did make the two conditionals,
Okay.
but one hasn't,
okay,
and that's out of our control.
okay, that's what okay, now I understand.
And that second candidate already has an EMT certification, so the theory is that once they get on board, pass their psych, hypothetically, they will jump in the fire portion of the local academy.
There's a lot of different works on how things pan out, but in the way you described it, if it panned out that way, then yeah, that should keep that. And if it doesn't, then so it works.
That you build them,
Right.
and you
So-
already have your 1, 2, 3, 4 down the list, and
And with a whole group of folks eager and waiting and hoping. But that would still, of course, slow down because then you have to start over again and do the site where we. Today. I do want to give some credit to Chief Paul, who's actually very, very helpful, and Chief Clemens. Because generally what will happen is it takes 4 to 5 weeks to get the background investigation portion done. Had that done. Then after that, we make a conditional offer. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to get the medical process done. The psychological process is usually 2 to 3 weeks, a little bit quicker if we really talk nice. But we can try to encourage that, but sometimes things just take however long they take for the doctor. Psych and medical, 2 different processes to go
now the
through.
people that you're potentially hiring, you explain this to them also, right? So that they understand it takes time.
Right.
Okay.
And it's the same anywhere they go, so like if they. Putting in at 2 different fire stations, they've still got that.
They still have to do it, yeah, it's required for all fire departments to do this right chronological process on it. So, anyway, I wanted to give some credit to Chief Paul and Chief Clemens. Chief Paul was actually able to find an expedited way to get the medical process going, which is usually 4 to 6 weeks. And thanks to Chief Clemens, just happened to be a physician assistant, was able to get a bunch of pieces done and expedite the 2 candidates for the medical process faster than they wanted to do. So that actually was really a helpful process to get going faster. So it was outside of our normal process. Usually we go through the public safety testing, go through Kaiser for medical, and go through all that process for there. But we did get everything done, appropriate, just different. So that was helpful to get through for that. So then our plan was in October was to make the conditional offers for the 2, but that of course slowed down. And then into November was supposed to be our formal offer after we get back to the site. That's the process. That's when we said, okay, so those were the 2 conditions of the formal offer. Then you can make the formal offer. Once formal offer is, that's when we start up an orientation date. So we started up the orientation date for one person to really have one. Did that January 1st, 2nd. And we're able to roll them right into the cabinet starting the very next week. So we did get the one, and then we're still trying to be creative on how we expedite the second one. But like I said, there's still some variables that are outside of our control. And, as swiftly as possible, we can do other position.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that was the 2025 for our hiring process. Got through there. And that kind of brings me into our 2026. So 2026, our goal number one, of course, is IO Chief Van Camp here by June, hopefully before June. A SWOT analysis of our updated 5-year plan. So we've had obviously some changes, one being the budget you're all aware of. And that changed the number of staff, because we're going to bring in the 5 additional, this we're bringing in 2. 5 additional change our plan, or the lack of changes our plan, because we remember this gave our 5-year plan, because we were going to go and increase the number of career lieutenants from 6 to 9. That meant 3 lieutenants on each platoon, and good most of the time.
But why do we need 3 lieutenants on each platoon? I mean,
Because there's a good chance that at any given day, one of them's gonna be on Kelly Day vacation, say. There's gonna be times where potentially all 3 of them will be on. But the idea is we're trying to staff 2 stations, 1 lieutenant at each station. So by having 3 of them on each platoon, the idea was that 2 of them, at most times, would be on duty in order to staff both stations. So that was a part of our 5-year plan, was to increase that and still keep the 15 firefighters. We have 50 over minus the 15 firefighters. So we have now, well, we will have 8 career members, battalion, 2 lieutenants now, 5 firefighters on each platoon. So what that meant was in 2026, the idea was to promote 3 of our firefighters to come into lieutenant. We have that registry already. We could, in theory, promoted at any time we make that decision to do so. That would put the 3 lieutenants on there. Now this changes if we're not doing our 5 hiring 5 firefighters. That puts us back into most likely keeping 6 lieutenants, 2, 2, 2. And that kind of gets us back into the talk we had about the overtime, because there's going to be a lot of times when lieutenant workers have that other station. So these are all facts that are going to be rolled back in, because that's going to change what our numbers be. So as part of the SWOT analysis we're gonna have to do, will include recruitment, selection, onboarding, initial training, and the deployment of both volunteer and career responders. So that's gonna reshuffle our 5-year plan, which is why I say this probably won't be relevant anymore. So if we have a different 5-year plan, if we have to change that 5-year plan, and again, I have to do the assessment, the analysis, do the SWOT analysis. Chief, make a recommendation if and how we need to adjust our 5-year plan. That of course means work with.
Right, and so your point is this particular 5-year plan is not relevant. But that's not to say we wouldn't, after a new one is adopted, develop a new spreadsheet that uses those numbers.
Right.
Okay, all right, right,
That's what would make sense to me. Like I
yes,
said, we still have full SWOT analysis, so I don't really know the end results of everything we're gonna discover. But what would make sense to me is once we update that plan, then there would be a new, here's our new plan. It doesn't include hiring. If yes, we're gonna, that's exactly what it is. It says, it shows how we're gonna track. If no, well, then the numbers would just change. We still have it, but it might just be a maintain. See how that life compare that. So the other piece of that is, again, fitting us back into giving her a full assessment, because our previous assumption was, goal was to have 25 volunteers, 28 career responders. Now minus 3 those career responders, lieutenants. Part of this analysis can be, well, what does that mean we have to do to assume, going in with the assumption still, that we want to staff 2 stations 24/7, right? That's still our goal. How do we achieve that? And that might be another combination of doing more volunteers to offset the career staff that we no longer have under our previous plan. Does that mean we don't staff 8? Does that mean we round out 83 plan? It could be one of many different ways that this all pans out. Do we or don't we have more volunteers? Do we do more overtime? I'm heard from my boss that that's a limited option as well. So we have a specific budget for overtime. So it's all kind of a balance game between more volunteers, number of career staff we have, how much overtime we do or don't do, and or do we don't bring staff 83 to what capability? Balancing that out best we can is really assessment.
So did I hear you say that you're gonna have that plan in by June? I don't think you needed a lot sooner than that. You know, we have.
Well, that's the deadline I have, but again, I'm trying to make that as fast as possible.
Like,
But I think it's more important to do it right in the past,
sure.
but that's actually what I really has. So,
Is that the speed of that process as you build it out?
yeah, so that's kind of where I wanted to build into is, well, what deliverable would you all want, or you know, what more helps in my choose report, or what am I talking about? Because if I keep giving this, it's not gonna help you with our current 2026
Right.
plan. So I guess kind of the feedback I'm looking for you all is, what would make sense for you as far as getting that information each month? Would it just me giving you a general update?
So an update as we go. So, but wouldn't you have a plan? Wouldn't you have like 2 or 3 different plans and then we kind of talk about it as a group and maybe decision there, or is it just totally up to you to make the decision?
I'm doing analysis. My job is to
You're
do
doing
the
analysis,
analysis,
okay.
to give it to
So then you
chief,
give it to the chief and he presents it. Okay.
talk about what.
I mean, because you saw that in the past with stuff, they, you know, this is what we have this budget, so we have this. That's what you.
I would imagine multiple options, you know, kind of somehow, but no matter what they are, it's gonna be balanced for categories.
Sure.
For volunteer, round out 83.
And how is our volunteer holding up?
Well, it's not from now because we didn't do any volunteer onboarding in 2025. So lost volunteers as attrition goes, people move on for whichever reason they have, but we didn't bring any on. So that's where, yeah, this chart actually is a little bit helpful, because you can see our goal count was at 27, we dropped to 20 volunteers.
Okay.
Our career firefighter position is currently now 14 because we have that one. To get us out to the 15 goal, lieutenant count. If we didn't have a budget change, this chart I would have kept, just put that to 9 lieutenants and then show them how we're getting to the 9 lieutenant total. So, as far as now, I don't know the international charts that are gonna really articulate progress, SWOT analysis. Best that I have so far is just give you an update each month. Here's what's kind of long, here's what we found, what we're thinking. Here's some of the stuff we have.
Yeah.
Like the charter, well, it's just.
This does work for me initially, but once we start building this plan out before June, I'd definitely like to have some documentation, like read prior, so a little more educated before we have these meetings. I think that's helpful, at least for my group. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Right.
Are you planning on onboarding more volunteers this calendar year?
Yeah, the part of the SWOT analysis is how many? Because that's really what I look at. I mean, there's so many ways you can take it because, well, with career staff, for example, we have a full-time person, they're here on the other day, they're full-time scheduled. That really fills a lot of holes I need to fill out the staffing. Volunteers, they're usually doing a fourth of that. So, I mean, it's one thing to say that 4 volunteers equal 1 career. That's not exactly that simple because most of our volunteers aren't officers or aren't driver operators for the apparatus. Or volunteers are generally going to be, you know, these empty firefighters. So it's kind of complicated. So I don't know exactly how many volunteers we need. But I know what we need to show the staff and station staff time. Yeah, that's souls are still gonna be. The lieutenant, as I said, 2 lieutenants are on. A platoon, good amount of times, one of them's off. So that's part of that fuller analysis, so. As far as onboarding volunteers, my feeling is, yeah, we're probably gonna increase them on just to kind of keep up with where we are, how many exactly, and. What that means, I think it's time for another revamp on what we do. We changed our volunteer program at least 6 times since I've been here. And now here we're in a whole new arena, so I think the SWOT analysis is gonna be important for pretty true. I got feelings, yeah, all volunteers under the. Station, 2 station staff.
Okay.
Or, I make my boss mad and lots of months overtime.
2, just for the contribution of volunteers, the average response, basically at the daytime, or correction, nighttime, weekend, with volunteer staffing were probably everywhere from about a quarter of an FTE average increase to a third. So they are augmenting the night weekend response, so it's still a measurable impact, so.
But of those volunteers, not all of them are all hazard volunteers. They're not all firefighter EMTs, some of them are blind, some of them are.
No, they are.
So the coordination of that to make that all work comes out of the time chief and put those pieces in the puzzle that fit correctly.
Yeah, generally, and the strategy recently has been, prioritizing them into the EMS role simply because 70 to 80% of our call volume is EMS, where we need to plus up on staffing. So, and that's really where the impact has been. Very honestly, on you know, seriously combat fire, that differential for staffing is usually filled by mutual aid folks.
Just a thought on with regard to onboarding or working to pursue some cadre of volunteers that in 2026. You know, you wouldn't want to wait until June to start thinking about recruiting and you know, scanning through them and training and all that, because then it'll be 2027 before you have anybody who's useful. Yeah, so while we don't know the exact number of volunteers that we need, we do know that there's a deficit of about 7 now. So we need some. And I would think personally that having some outreach and trying to get some folks started, whether or not it's ultimately the exact right number, I think doing it sooner rather than later would be the right thing.
Yeah, and it always takes some ramp up anyway, never just snap it, person over that.
And I'll take the other side of it, to just for argument's sake. Just reading this document, we have 6 new members in 2025. Maybe have a conversation, put a hold on that volunteer program, this one, so we can bring those 6 members to where we want them to be in that career staff. So we concentrate our efforts on getting them to where we want them to be. Integrated staff, covering an AO, making sure that they're checking all the information, every benchmarks, just all the stuff, so we have some kind of retention with those 6 members as well. Concentrate on them as their professional development for the next year. This is a pretty good opportunity for us to concentrate on those new 6 members, so we can capture their hearts and minds and souls and keep them in this department for as long as we can keep them.
I see those, I don't disagree with what was said, in terms of getting those folks up to speed and as useful as possible. But I don't see that as taking away from reaching out and getting additional volunteers online and getting them started. The on shift training and the on shift mentoring and working with those staff, that doesn't take away from outside recruitment opportunities. I don't know, do you see that differently?
Recruitment opportunities, no. Training, yes. I think bringing in volunteers twice a year, something like that, it makes in my opinion, it makes the career staff concentrate on those volunteers because they have all those extra needs that's not provided in that fire academy, that volunteer fire academy. When we have these members that show up in a volunteer career capacity, like we have a probationary reminder we have to get through. We have all their benchmarks. We got to start talking about driving. They have tool job assignments that come with all their regulations. If we concentrate on the revolving door volunteer system that we have there, we're just taking that time away from career members that we fired invested into over the last year.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I was hearing something different than what you were saying.
Yeah, onboarding is a lot different than training.
I heard you talk about training existing volunteer members to get them up to speed to whatever. No, you're not talking about that. Okay, well, I'm sorry. My mistake.
Yeah. And just throwing it out there too.
Yeah, well, these are all factors we have to put in this analysis.
Yeah, for sure.
I have answers right now, so weigh all these things in.
Yeah.
So even other factors than this, I don't have time to get into all of it, but it's a lot. Unless there's any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
For me?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, so we're on to the 2026 expense budget for operating CR&R reserves. Chief was talking about it. Actually, what's
Sure. 3 documents to you. One was the 5-year plan, which shows the 2026 proposed operating and as well as all 4 budgets. And then the estimated 27, 28, 29, 30 budgets as a result of that. And then, I sent a copy of detailed line item operating budget. As well as a detailed line item capital repairs, replacement budget, so. I haven't heard any questions since our last meeting, and again, would be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question about the capital funding plan. At the top of it there, you have. And may have already heard this, but I was. Period. Station 8-1 architectural interiors, 20,000. Don't we just do all that, and when they just do all of that, when we have the, or I break, or we have more work that's being done, it's cost 20,000.
The amounts that are budgeted are basically done in a somewhat arbitrary manner. It's using a percentage of the expected maintenance value for the value of that property. It's something we do in estimating. We use a document we call means guides, which show per square foot how much you think it's gonna cost to do interior structure. It's just, carpeting and paint and so forth. And so, over time, as we get more experience on what the actual costs are, then it may become more realistic, but it's formula driven costs. So obviously, it won't exactly match what we will spend because we really don't know. There are some planned things like, for example, our protection system, the Station 83. We've got some pretty solid estimates of what that will cost, but other than that, projects like that, and equipment generally, we probably have a closer idea on equipment costs like vehicles and heavy, power equipment and so forth. But the architectural and mechanical, electrical attributes of our facilities is educated, estimated gas and what the budget for that might not be.
Great. I also had a question on replacement battalion A vehicle. I thought we just did that. Do we have more than one vehicle that needs to be replaced?
For 2026, it was the only vehicle that we had in our schedule. Yes, we had some discussion about laying that for a year. Then I defer to Chief McBride for any on that, but.
We just did that. That was my question. So we just get one, or
we
I
got
think
one.
another vehicle.
That's 5 years old. So one of the things that happens was our utility vehicles, command rigs, whatever, all those, that side of vehicles, they originally were all purchased at the same time. So some of the things that we did is we evaluated how long could we actually do them. One of the things we found is like the previous battalion was the battalion for like 10 years. We bought another identical one that barely got any use, that's still on the part. So we're trying to balance the amount of time or when we purchase, so that we weren't having to go like every 15 years and buy 4 new vehicles. We would just spread them out every 5 years and kind of, because we noticed too, as the vehicles got older, whether they were being used a lot or not, they were still having a lot of issues. So we had a very low mileage vehicle that was the same age as the one getting used, but actually was having more issues because it wasn't getting into street. So one of the things we did, and some of this is stuff we've tried to fix since we merged with Seven, because they bought vehicles roughly the same time. So we've been staggering out the smaller vehicles to every 5 years. The current battalion, once the new one is ordered, we would put it as the reserve battalion, and it could also be used for, admin and whatnot to drive around one area. So
And you're looking at 140,000 to replace that.
that's these standard.
What extra do they put on those to make it 140,000?
All those systems, right? No, it's just like line cells, whistles.
Yeah, I mean, we try to cut costs, but
Yeah.
after ordering multiple vehicles, chief is not too happy when I have to come back and ask for more money.
Yeah.
So I've learned
So
to
you hire the buddy,
do
the buddy
that
will
just a
hire.
little bit more. I don't over exaggerate it, but yeah, just a little bit. But like if we still get new computers put in them, because that's the other thing is as we've grown and we use vehicles more, we found that we need to just have vehicles ready to go. So before we would, take a computer out of the command rig and put it in the backup command rig, take everything out. But we find more and more that we need
just a second one that's ready to go, or that somebody could use during the day and still respond to incidents with, right away, rather than being kind of having half the equipment that you actually need.
Well, and very honestly, the equipment ages out just like the vehicle, so after about 5 years, mobile radio, they probably should be replaced.
Yeah.
I read that one of these documents that said you met with VRF, they had about the lease program. About leasing these vehicles instead of buying these outright. So there's some departments in our area that are doing that.
We have explored it.
Yeah.
It's usually what you. If you replace them that often.
No,
Just, well, they're actually on like a 15-year replacement cycle, not a 5 year, so it's just everything's staggered though, so that.
What happens if you were to lease it and it got wrecked?
We haven't explored these things.
Yeah,
so
that would be
couldn't-
something I would look into.
Insurance.
Right.
Insurance, yeah.
the other item on that list is shows $15,000 for a replacement heat unit. We're not gonna buy an heat unit for $50,000, actually being given a surplus medic unit this year. And we estimate the cost to get it set up. It comes pretty well loaded. It comes with a gurney and radio and stuff, so there's really not a lot of expense. But there's some things that we need to do with, so that's what that covers. And that will mean that the second aid car that we have sitting around will fall over. So our current plan is in the fleet is to have 2 transport capable vehicles.
And didn't we just get a brand new one? I know we got a fire truck, but didn't we last year or whatever? get
That was a brush truck.
It was a what?
It was a brush truck.
There was a new A unit like when I first started. So like.
From
Yeah.
2016.
It was. Yeah, friendly.
Okay.
About any years already.
Right, so that is just a refurbishment of it, it's not putting the box on a new chassis like we've done before.
It's using essentially the same vehicle.
Anybody else have questions about that?
We're on the capital fund. The only one I look at is I see our budget is 9,520,000. But our ending expenditures are 7 million. So where's the other 2 million budgeted into the budget?
Well, again, part of it's cash carryover that we need to cover our cash flow in 27 get it.
So why don't you show that on here?
It does show up, if you look at the 5-year plan where cash carries over from year to year.
Right.
And I just had one last question on that for 2026, then we still have a plan for the to complete the work at Station 83 for the fire protection system.
For the capital budget.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Chief about this? Because he's requesting approval, so. Anybody wanna, take a motion?
Well, I'm just not, I'm not seeing where the cash is carried over.
It,
Should be on the bottom. Right.
you need to have some cash left over at the end of the year, so
Yeah.
this is the amount left over.
Oh, okay.
That goes right up here, cash from 27.
Right.
Okay,
Those are-
okay,
And then this will, at the end of 27 goes up to 28.
okay.
So this is the working money that we need from,
Or to carry.
because our tax collections are in March and November,
Okay,
not January.
okay. Yeah, because I was looking at this and so I didn't see it in here, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it.
It's time. All right. So we can approve this or. Jumble.
Well, is it?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, yeah, I'm visual, so I wasn't seeing where that number was going.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
All right. So the motion, you want to second it? Okay, we're seconding. There you go, Chief.
Thank you.
Oh. So next is the secretary.
Do we need to say?
No, oh, we gotta.
You got
vote.
it. Actually, vote for it.
So all of them.
I. Okay.
I was ready to. Thank you for helping me.
That's okay.
Now we'll move on to the secretary report.
Okay, well, I sent out the meeting minutes from December 9th, and I heard no changes on that. I'm looking for approval for the minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes for December 9th, 2025, as they are written.
I'll second.
All
All in favor?
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Are there any questions on the warrants?
They don't have any.
Oh,
I did.
wait. Where's my warrant? Here. Yes, Mitchell. I did have questions.
I'll just try to remember,
them?
how often do we get water from? Crystal?
From Crystal Springs?
Is that every?
We get water, well,
Once a week.
we get water,
Once a
we
week?
can answer that.
So is that bill for, was it, I'm sorry, I don't have it, was it?
Here.
It's not, I 5,000, thank you. It's $528, so is that for the month?
Yes, that's for the month, and that's for both stations.
Okay. There was one more thing. You know, I always have to learn more and more.
It's good that you asked those questions.
Gosh darn it.
She's taking over Rich's spot.
I know, right?
That's fine.
He told me I needed to do that. I thought there was one more, but maybe it's all right. If I remember, I'll ask you. Okay, thank you. You
Yeah,
don't
please
have any
do.
questions?
Probably not.
I don't. I'll move that we accept the warrants as posted and
I second it.
Right. All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay.
And then I was going to announce that that legislative day is January 29th, and this year it is going to be in person. If you recall, last year it was just a remote, and they are doing it in person, but it's only like 2 hours long. I don't know why. And then I also wanted to remind you of the awards banquet on February 7th. We're holding it this year at Uptown Lounge. I'm going to be sending out an official invitation either this week or next week. So yeah, we're excited about that.
Right. Where is Uptown Lounge at?
Downtown in the Olympia, off of Capitol.
Say up down the grill.
Uptown, what do they call it?
Uptown Grill.
Uptown Grill, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Kind of by Sylvester Park.
right. It's next to the old Backdoor Bronson.
Oh,
Well, it is the back door from Bronson now.
Oh,
That's where it'll be.
okay.
What's the pizza place next to it?
I'll get contact.
La Gitana in Olympia, it's right next door to that.
And that's gonna start at 6.
Uh-huh. We're doing it a little bit different this year. We're gonna have a little happy hour, and then we're gonna have the meal, and it's gonna be like a buffet style, and then we're having live entertainment. Kristen Baldwin, the band.
Copy.
And so we're gonna have them start after the food, that way, yeah. We're looking forward to that.
So, but are you doing awards or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, we're doing awards.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Okay.
But the awards don't take that long.
Okay.
We're not doing, the raffles. Unfortunately, maybe next year. We didn't have Janet to get all the raffle gifts, so didn't happen.
All right, so we're on to commissioners' comments.
Just like to welcome Lillian to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment, and yes, welcome, Lillian. Actually, I wanted to thank you for your patience. I know that the hiring process got lengthened out quite a bit. And that is tough when you're looking for the job. You want to start the job. Thank you for your patience and hanging with us. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No. All right, so review and follow up. Chief.
I don't have anything.
That's all
I
right.
do have a question though. When I was doing that agenda, I know that we talked about how frequently you want to include the employer or employee performance review, the executive session. How do you want that to play? Is it quarterly? I know that at one point we had it on certain months, but sometimes that didn't work out because of whatever,
vacation.
something else or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so what we should ask, how often do they do evaluations for the department? Is it done once a year? Is it done once every 6 months under staff?
Yeah, all the employees are, and all of our members are done once a year.
Have you do a 6 month check-in at all?
Sorry.
Do you do a 6 month check-in? At all?
No, not typically. We provide for it unless it's necessary, but typically, the annual performance evaluation stuff in December. And they have the expectation for the.
So, as I remember it, and maybe I'm wrong, but as I remember it, we had a methodology where we were doing one evaluation at the end of the year. And we got to the point where it's like, where are we? Because it's been so long ago. And so we decided to have some mid-year updates. And I think last couple of years have done a quarter. And they haven't always happened on the month that we scheduled because sometimes there was a vacation.
Then we
some-
bump it to the.
Some
next
interruption, bumped it to the next one, but we did force ourselves to get to the project of looking at evaluation on a regular basis.
And I think it's just kind of a check-in,
Yes,
Yes,
you know, providing input to us.
when I say performance review, that's the RCW I'm referring to.
yes.
To have the executive session. It's not the literal performance review. It's check-in.
Does that make sense?
It does, I think you're 100% right, it's hard to keep up on a yearly basis, if you don't have a check-in, whether it's quarterly, biannually, or if you look up, but.
And I feel like you should
Keep
do it like once every 4 months instead of every 3. You won't do it more often.
So I got it on the agenda,
Goals,
that-
we know with the goals, we know where we're at. So it's more of a personal, for the chief staff.
What do you feel, chief, is best for you? A check, do you feel like you need to check in with this that often or more
We've
often?
been doing work, seemed to work well.
Sort of 2 months, once a quarter. Okay,
Yeah, and if issues come up that, need more frequent, but that's fine, but yeah. There is a procedure that talks about it, and they, is checking in, with my performance eval related, for mine, not necessarily anybody else, but for mine related generally, goals and objectives as they're adopted by the district, by you, board. So it gets a little busy in, September, October, November, whatever. And then after January, I generally go into and what we've done is about a quarterly feedback, I think, quarterly sign.
is that making
Yeah, you can fluctuate that much.
I just needed some clarification.
Month.
So I had it on the agenda tonight. I didn't know if you wanted to have one tonight or not, but as I understand it, you need closure for 25 or something, so. Okay. Okay, thank you.
So keep that the same. All right, so we're gonna go into executive session, so. You turn that off.
I'm gonna turn it off. We're gonna say bye, Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
Hi, Brad.
And you say we're adjourned?